Okay. All right. All good. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Clark again. Welcome everyone to the Fit 5136 Software Engineering. This is a week 2 lecture, which is about requirement engineering. Okay. Yeah. So we will talk about how to elicit the requirement. Basically, what is the requirement engineering? Why it is so important, and how to do and how to elicit the requirement as well. Okay. Yep. Today we will talk about three key things here, right? First is about requirement engineering. What is the definition, what it is, and what are the types of the requirement, what is the process, and what are the techniques as well. So once everyone understand this, right, then we can gather the requirement, understand what the end users need, so we can develop the right system for the right users. Okay, and when we develop the software, it's not just only the functionality of the system, but we also should focus on the usability design, how the end users will use the system as well. That there are a few principles here. Okay, and yeah, last but not least, we will talk about the case study, which is the parallax that thing. Okay. Yep. Okay, basically the requirement engineering, right? It is defined as the process of defining, documenting, and maintaining the requirements. When we, let's say if we want to develop a mobile application, and one of the first question is that we want to know what are the features, right? Is that the like a social network mobile application, or the game application, or what kind of app, right? So without that kind of concrete requirement, it's very hard for developers to develop some system. Okay, maybe someone is unmute. Maybe I will yep, set up something in the Zoom. Uh-oh.
Well, are you able to send me as a co-host as well?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep, maybe can you mute some of the students as well? Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, I will continue. Yeah. So as part of the software development life cycle, right? We normally start from the requirement engineering. And this is the most important, the first part, the first phase of the software development life cycle. Without gathering the requirement, it's unclear what should we develop, right? So the requirement engineering, it is the process of establishing the service that a customer requires from a system. What is their requirement from the customer, from the end user? What are their constraints? Whether the system should be like extremely highly secure and can handle like a million requests or not, that kind of thing. So that we need to understand every aspect of the system so we can develop the right one. Okay, yeah. And to elicit the requirement, yeah, normally we need to write the description, what the system should perform. And that should be the thing that we need to write as part of the requirement engineering. Okay, and for example here, software process, right? This is what I just mentioned before, that okay, back a little bit. Normally, like as part of the software development lifecycle, requirement engineering and the analysis is the first step of before we develop a software, and it is the same as new participant upon entry. Continue. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So it is the same as let's say building up. We're gonna construct a building, right? We need to understand. Architect need to design the building. What is the facade? What is the how many story? That kind of thing. So they need to understand from the customer perspective. What do they want? 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house, how many bathroom, whether the laundry is needed or not, that kind of thing. So same to building a software. It's an engineering discipline, right? That's why we need to elicit the requirement first, and it is the same as a civil engineer, construction manager, that kind of thing. It's the same business. Okay, yeah. So there are different types of requirement. Mainly, there are what is that? There are different perspectives. Okay, types of the requirement. Based on the stakeholders, we can focus on the business requirement and the end users requirement as well. Okay, so business requirement, for example, and this is quite general and high level from, let's say, like a C executive level perspective. We want a system to increase the revenue of our company, and that could be the business requirement. And then the business analyst may need to delve deeper into the details. So what exactly is the system is required in order to increase the profits or that kind of thing. Let's think about the e-commerce system, right? That kind of thing we need to elicit into more details. And then from the user perspective, we need to understand what the user want. Think about e-commerce system. Probably as a user, we want to I want to do the online shopping and have some intelligent system that can recommend me what is the next product that I should purchase, that kind of thing, right? And it meets the business requirement as well, because that kind of recommendation system can increase the profit, increase the what is that, the budget of the company, that kind of thing. Okay. And that's the from the stakeholder perspective. But from the system perspective, from the software perspective, there are two parts. Okay, there are two types. The first one is a functional requirement, and the second one is a non-functional requirement. Functional, it is like that's the self-explanatory by itself. It means that what the system should functionally do. Okay, that's the functional requirement. But when we talk about the non-functional requirement, we normally talk about the quality of the system. Okay, like different things. For example, security, performance, usability, human aspect, and reliability. The system should be fault tolerant, that kind of thing. That's a non-functional requirement. But they sometimes I have lots of questions in the past as well, and I also get some advice from different experts as well in this area, right? And they are quite interrelated. When we talk about non-functional requirement, and let's say security, the system should be secure. That's a non-functional requirement, but we can, it is also related to the functional requirement as well. Let's say, as a user, we need multi-factor authentication to so that so that I can log into the system securely. Okay, so securely, that's a non-functional requirement, but the multi-factor authentication, the Okta, that kind of thing, is actually the functional requirement that the developers should implement into the system. So it doesn't mean that the non-functional requirement is not functional requirement, but it is interrelated together. It depends how we write it, how we explain or describe it as well. It really depends. Okay. Constraint, yeah, things that system should prohibit the users to do. For example, if the user cannot log in successfully, they cannot view the banking transaction history in a mobile app. Can you provide another example of the functional and non-functional requirement? That was a bit confusing. Okay. All right. Functional requirement, we talk about what the system should functionally do. If we talk about the banking mobile banking application, the functionality of the system, for example, login feature, withdraw money, deposit the money, and what else? Apply the home loan, submit the home loan application, credit card application, that kind of thing. That's a functionality of the system. We can do the BPay, we can do that kind of thing, pay whatever, credit card. But the non-functionality of the mobile banking application, for example, the UI should be user-friendly, supporting different types of mobile devices. That's the portability and can handle at least a million users at the same time. Okay, that's the non-functional requirement. Is not it. This kind of quality attributes does not dictate what the system should do, but how it should provide it, how it should perform. Okay. When we talk about, let's say, handle million requests, that's how the system should perform. That's a non-functional requirement. But what the system should do, it should do the login feature with the transaction, that kind of thing. Okay. And another question, does non-functional means no specific requirement? Not really, not really. Not really. It's about whether what the system should perform or should do, or how can I say? I would say that both functional and the non-functional should be specific anyway. It cannot be vague. Okay. For example, as I mentioned again, non-functional requirement. Let's say the mobile application should be user-friendly, support different diverse of people. With every end user should be able to click the button correctly and it's not confusing, that kind of thing. This is not the right non-functional requirement anyway, but we talk about the usability of the system, right? So that's a non-functional requirement. We talk about the other thing, not the function of the app, but the characteristic of the app, of the mobile application, or the characteristics of the mobile system. No, software system. Okay, is that clear? Okay, got it. Thank you. Wonderful, right? Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, yeah. And when we talk about the requirement, there are different things as well. Business requirement, user requirement, implementation requirement as well, whether we should run on the Microsoft platform, the database should be on the Oracle, MySQL, SQL, whatever. That kind of thing, right? So it really depends. There are different requirements when we develop one piece of software. And so this is something that we need to consider. Okay. Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned before, business requirement is at the high level. We normally talk about what is the company point of view. We want to increase the revenues, increase the profits, and then we delve down into the scope of the projects, right? As an e-commerce company, we normally have e-commerce application that end users can use, and that's the source of the revenue for the company. Business objective, we want to increase the revenue. User requirement, end user should be able to do the online shopping, enjoy doing the online shopping, enjoy the coupon, discount, campaign, that kind of thing. Okay, that's an end user requirement. And system, how can we develop the system to meet that kind of user requirement so they can do like more online shopping, and then as a company, as a CEO, we can get more revenues as well. Yeah, and again, functional requirement, what the system does, and non-functional requirement, how well the system does it, right? That's more like the characteristics of the system. Okay, again, functional requirement. It describes the functionality of the system and how the system should react to the input and behave it as the output to the end user, that kind of thing. Okay. Let's take a look at this example. A user shall be able to search properties for all suburbs. That's let's say this is what is that? Rental properties, like a domain.com or real estate application. Okay, so that's one of the functional requirement. There's a search, okay, search feature. And at the end of each month, the system shall generate a list of properties sold and rented. Yeah, so that's one of the functionality of the system as well, right? Each property agent shall be uniquely identified by his or her 8-digit employee number. And that means this kind of system should serve the end users, the landlord, the rental provider, and also the rental property agent as well. Yeah, real estate agent. Okay, so that's the three main end users of this application, right? Okay, but again, go back to some of the student comment here, right? Like whether the non-functional requirement means no specific requirement or not. Yes, it's not. Okay, requirement cannot be imprecise. Cannot be imprecise. It must be accurate. It must be succinct. It must be clear. Okay, for either of the requirement. Yeah, and requirement. Yeah, requirements must not be ambiguous, incomplete, and inconsistent. And problems often arise when functional requirements or any requirements are not clearly stated. Right? Let's say this is what happens in real world scenarios. As a CEO, I want to increase the profit for the company. We need like a 10% revenues increase. But as a developers, as a software engineer, right? What to do? That's a high level business requirement. Okay, let me pull down the blind a little bit. Yeah, so that's the high level business requirement, and then it's not clear at all how can we achieve that goal, right? So as a business analyst, as a software engineers, we need to break it down, elicit more requirement, what exactly that we want to do, and how can we develop that kind of system. Okay, this is happen in real world scenarios. And let's say look at this picture, right? When we talk about client requirement, they want something, but sometimes when we elicit requirement, we understand different things as well. So yeah, we normally start from something that is unclear. Like look at the face here, okay? Annotate. Let me try to get the draw. At the beginning of the requirement elicitation or requirement gathering, maybe the customer say just we want an animals with some hairs and 4 legs, and what is that, right? And when we use different techniques to elicit requirement, get into more details, and then probably at the end we may discover that okay, probably the client may want to get some to buy a horse, okay, for example. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Consider a user shall be able to search a property based on location, right? First, is it clear or not? Let's take a moment to think about it. Is it clear or not? And if yes, then sure. But if not, then what are the other things or the other factors that we need to consider? Yeah, let's take a moment to think about this one. Yeah. Okay. So based on this one, right? When we say location, okay, look at the Google Maps location. There are different factors involved as part of the location. For example, street name, street address, street type, suburb, country. What is that? There are lots of things. Postal code, you know. So when we say based on the location, it's unclear. Think about the mobile app when you want to find a rental property, right? It's unclear. Like, what do you mean by the location? Do you mean by the address or by the suburb or by the street, right? So if we can like put it more detail, right, to search for a property based on the local government area, based on the street or that kind of thing, that is more specific, and then developers can decide the right input value, decide the right UI, decide the right database, architecture, diagrams, that kind of thing as well. Okay, so be clear as much as possible, then it will be very helpful to the developers. Yes, that means, yeah, it should be complete, it should be consistent, it should not be contradict with each other among the requirements, right? And in practice, because of system and environmental complexity, it is impossible to produce a complete consistent requirement document in the first draft. Normally, it will be evolved over time, right? That's why agile software development practices are normally used nowadays, because sometimes we don't know what is a clear requirement at the end. So we need to adapt for change, embrace for change as a culture. Okay, non-functional requirement, what is that again, right? A specific criteria, it is a specific criteria that can be used to judge the operation of a system rather than the specific behaviors. As I mentioned before, we talk about the characteristics of the system. The system should be able to serve million requests. The system should be extremely secure, no one can hack. The system should have like a data privacy protection. Hackers cannot hack the system, steal the information. It requires multi-factor authentication, that kind of thing. Okay, yeah, that's the non-functional requirement. And for example, what is that, right? Numbers of customer allow, password requirement, response time storage requirement, IO device. Yeah, so it's when we talk about the platform requirement, the application should be able to run on the Android OS only, but not iOS. That's one of the requirements as well if we want to narrow down the groups of end users, right? Or it should handle, how can I say? It should connect to some specific database system, that kind of thing, okay? That's a non-functional requirement. The response time should be less than 1 second when customer click any button, okay? That's an example, non-functional requirement. But how the system should do, when you click the button, it can be login, it can be pay, it can be check out, it can be withdraw money, it can be deposit the money, transfer the money, that kind of thing. That's a feature of the system, yeah. But the characteristics of the system, they are mainly non-functional requirements, okay? Is it clear to everyone? Maybe say yes in the Zoom chat and then we can move on. Thank you, everyone. You are so wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for your active participation, yes. Okay, right. And why the non-functional requirements are so important, right? So based on the slide here, right? Sometimes it is even more important than the functional requirement as well, because when we develop the system, if I'm not sure whether we talk about the V and V before or not, right? Like we start from the requirement elicitation, develop the code, go to the unit level, and when we test the software, we just normally focus on the unit level, right? Whether the adding function works correctly or not, multiply function works correctly or not. But at the end of the day, if the functionality of the system they are correct, but it may not meet the end user requirement anyway. So normally the non-functional requirement to do that, right? We normally have the acceptance testing, okay, to test whether the whole system meet the end user requirement or not. It's not just only like the one unit function, okay? Think, for example, mobile application, the mobile banking application again. This mobile application can can perform like a successfully login feature, can do money withdraw or deposit correctly, right? But the button is like all over the place. That's the non-functional requirement. The users are not happy at all. They don't know how to use it. It is very complex UI. For example, deposit money comes before the login button, then that's not in the right flow. But whether the functionality or the feature of the system is correct or not, yes, it is correct, but the usability is very poor, right? So that's why sometimes the non-functional requirement is even more important than the functional requirement, okay? Otherwise, yes, the system may be useless, okay? Yeah. All right. some more examples, right? The property management system, this is a few examples of the non-functional requirements, okay? For example, the property management system shall be available to all property agents during the normal working hours. That means from Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m., 5:30 p.m., right? And this is the non-functional requirement. That means it must have they should not have any downtime during this working hours. They can like do some system maintenance upgrade during the midnight, but the IT operation team should not do any like upgrade during this working hour at all, right? This is an example. Downtime within the normal working hour shall not exceed 5 seconds in any one day. Okay, yeah. Customer must authenticate themselves using their driver license. Okay, after receiving an inspection request, the system must acknowledge with a response email within 10 seconds. Okay, that's very clear. We cannot say that after receiving an inspection request, the system must acknowledge with a response email shortly. When we say shortly, or like in the next few minutes, it's unclear. Like how many minutes, right? Or how many seconds. So try to avoid that kind of vague term, okay? Process requirements mandating a particular ID. Yeah, that's the the platform requirement, infrastructure environment that is required as well to develop the system. Yeah. Okay. For this one, non-functional requirements normally affect the overall architecture of the system rather than the individual component, right? As I mentioned before, when we talk about the functionality of the system, that's more the unit level, the method level, the function level. But when we talk about the non-functional requirement, it's about the whole architecture of the system, the whole the big picture, right? Overall thing. Okay, that's the characteristic of the system. Yeah. That means when we say that the system, the mobile banking application should have like a highly secure login feature. Okay, that's the overall characteristic, but it's unclear. This is unclear. What do you mean by highly secure login feature? But when we say the mobile banking application should have a multi-factor authentication so that the user can log in to the system securely and to avoid such like cyber criminals, that kind of thing. Okay, that's then the multi-factor authentication becomes functional requirement of the mobile application. Yeah, but it affects the overall architecture of the system. It affects the characteristics of the system because we have the multi-factor authentication. The whole system is more secure than without having it, right? Okay, right, okay. Flux quiz. Okay, we're gonna do some quiz together. So everyone, please go to the to this question to the Flux link, flux.qa6lqdp9. All right, and it is active now, I believe. Okay, yeah. No one respond yet. Okay. So what is the question? Let me see. Which one of these is a non-functional requirement? Again, right, when we talk about functional requirement, that's a feature of the application, just one small feature. But anything that affects the whole system, the characteristic of the system, that's the non-functional requirement. Right, and the answers are more correct now. Okay, thank you. Okay. Cool. Okay, thank you. So we got 22 response so far. Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I will move on. Yeah, everyone should do anyway. We have 30 people in the room in the Zoom in this lecture. Yeah, let's try to complete all of them. Okay. Would it be possible to have the correct answer? Do you mean that I should provide the answer now, or what do you mean? Yeah, okay. Yeah, as you mentioned, the answer will be provided after the end of the week, okay? After the quiz is over. Because this is part of the assessment as well. It is marking. All right, okay. I will continue now. Requirement engineering process, right? Earlier, we talked about why the requirement engineering is so important. There are different types of the requirement, and now we will talk about how to elicit the requirement, okay? And what is the process to engineer it as well. Yeah. So the RE process, requirement engineering, it is the process that used widely depending on the application domain. Different companies use different process as well. It really depends how it depends on the nature of the companies, okay? But in general, there are 4 activities related to or as part of the requirement engineering. Okay, the first one is the requirement elicitation. Basically, we need to gather the requirement. Okay, and then once we get the requirement, we need to analyze them. Okay, like let's say we want a mobile application. It should have that kind of feature, blah blah blah, and then we need to analyze it. What are the functional requirements? What are the non-functional requirements? We need to validate the requirement as well, whether that kind of requirements are clear or not, completed or not. It should not be ambiguous. We need to validate it, right? As I mentioned before, if we have one of the requirements say, yeah, the response time should be, we should send an email notification within a few seconds. Then what does it mean by a few seconds? By 2, by 3, or 4 or 5 seconds, right? So that's part of the requirement validation. And we need to manage the requirements anyway, because one mobile application, it can have 100 requirements, okay, 100 requirement items, and without managing it, we will not know whether we successfully meet that requirement or not. So we need to find a way to manage it as well. Normally, sometimes we can use like a requirement traceability matrix. This requirement is tested by this, and it is executed already. It is done. Blah 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 blah. So we need to have a way or a tool to manage the requirement as well, right? And in real world scenarios, requirement engineering, it is an iterative activity. It cannot be done like within one round. Is nearly impossible. Okay, same to, let's say, building a house, right? We need a 2-story house. How many bedrooms, and the laundries or that kind of thing do we need? A garage, double garage or single garage, right? So RE is an iterative activity, same to the house builder, right? So it cannot be like one round anyway, okay? And yeah, we will perform elicit the requirement, analysis, validation, management iteratively. Yeah. So the first step, right? Elicit the requirement elicitation and the analysis. What does it mean? Normally, it means that we want to discover what is the true client requirement. What do they want? What do they need? And what should the system do to meet their requirement as well, right? And normally the common methods that we use is to do the interview and the survey, okay? Interviews, that means we talk to the specific people, okay? We talk to them, what do they want, what do they need? Survey can be run to a larger group of people. And let's say if we want to build the how can I say, Facebook, okay, let's say if you want to build a Facebook application, right? And then probably sometimes Facebook can run the advertisement survey to ask you, okay, do you want this feature? Do you like it or not? What do you think? Anything to improve, right? So that kind of like a large scale survey as well, okay? Yeah, once we get the requirement, we need to refine it, extend it from the initial version. That's part of the requirement analysis. And when we elicit the requirement, it's not like one person, it's not like a one go. We need to involve multiple stakeholders from business domain, developers, the end users, the client, system architect, QA tester as well, right? Everyone, the infra engineer operation team, it involves lots of people following the last bullet here, right? End user managers, engineers involved in the maintenance, domain expert, and trade unions. Yeah, everyone. It's not like just only software engineers. We are developing the software for human, and it is developed by humans. So we need more concern. We need to consider more about this kind of people. Yeah. Otherwise, we may just develop one piece of software that serve one group of people, but not a diverse group of people anyway. So yeah. All right, that's the requirement elicitation and the analysis, right? And as part of this process, we basically, as I mentioned before, we need to determine what do they really need. And we need the skill to elicit the requirement, the right one, okay? If you ask the right question, you get the right answer. If you ask the wrong question, you won't get the right answer anyway. So that's why we need to communicate and talk with the same language as the client. It's not just like, how can I say? Yeah, we need to understand their terminologies, understand their background knowledge, their technical jargons, technical terms, you know, what do they use, but we may not use it, but we need to understand them as well, okay? For example, let's say when we talk about domain, the term domain, it means a lot of things. Are we talking about the business domain or the domain name in the web browser, you know? So the term domain, it means a lot of things, but if we are not clear about that, then no one will understand. So yeah, we need to get the right language as well, right? And the steps to determine what the client needs, these are the general steps. First, understand, as a requirement engineer, we need to understand that domain first. This is the, let's say, property management system, okay? Property management, real estate agent, okay? What this is that domain. The real estate agent often have two key service, okay? Buy and sell, and the rental properties. That's the domain. That's that domain. This is what we know, and then we should understand their business model as well. Okay, they get the profit or the money from the buy and sell, the commission, right? Or the commission fees from the finding the tenant as well for the rental properties, that kind of thing. That's how they work with the landlord or work with the owner of the property when they do buy and sell. Okay. And third, use the business model to determine the client requirement, because as a client, their client, right? When they want to buy and sell, they want to get the highest price as much as possible. For the rental properties, they want to get the tenant as soon as possible. So as developers for the real estate or property management system, what should we do? Like think about domain, real estate, homely, whatever, right? That means we should develop the feature to find the right tenant or list the most attractive properties for buy and sell, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, build business model, verify the business model with the requirement. Yeah, it should meet and interconnected with each other. Okay. Yep. Understand. Yeah, that's all. Before we move on, what must the product be able to do, right? What is that here? Misconception is that we fulfill the requirement, full expectation. Instead, we as the software engineer should help the client realize what they need in a more technical and controllable way. Client expectation, and this is a final. What do we mean is that how can I say, we as a software engineer, as I mentioned before, we need to elicit the requirement, understand everything, communicate with them, okay, and avoid some misconception here as well, that as a developers, we need to fulfill all of the client full expectation. Yes and no. Yeah, so it depends. We need to make it clear as part of the requirement as well. When we elicit a requirement, today they want something, tomorrow they may want another thing, right? But everything should be written down in the document, and to avoid any misconception, misunderstanding, and manage the expectation very well as well. Okay, yeah. Let's take some 5 minutes break, and then if you have any questions, you can post in the Zoom chat. So I will start again, let's say maybe not 5, but 10:45. Let's take 3 minutes break, and then we will continue. All right. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or not? Post in the Zoom chat, Q&A. We can take this opportunity to clarify. And take a moment to listen to music and relax. Okay, so we got some question here. Thank you so much. So what is the business model? Like use case diagram, sequence diagram? I would say no. That's a software model, not the business model. Business model, that's how they run the business, right? What is the source of income? What is how do they make the profits? But when we talk about the use case diagram, sequence diagram, class diagram, that's a software modeling and design. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense? Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe I will continue now. Thank you so much for your question and the active participation. Okay, requirement gathering. Now we will talk about the different techniques to elicit the requirement. In general, people use interviews and the surveys. Okay, what does it mean? So there are different techniques, as we mentioned, as I mentioned before. Interviews, questionnaires. We can get the requirement from the existing documentation as well. We can set up a workshop as well. Okay, we can elicit the requirement from the domain expert. We can do the direct observation. We can riding the truck, getting to know the business domain, or do the prototyping. Okay, what are these? Right, interviews, individual, one by one. We ask them directly. We get the answers directly. Interviews can be both structured interview. We prepare a set of questions, or unstructured interviews. We don't prepare any questions, but we just like ask them based on the response. We come up with the next question. And for each individual, the questions may be different. That's the unstructured interviews. It can be semi-structured as well. We prepare a set of questions, but we may ask or we may not ask directly, right? That's the interview. Questionnaires, they are quite similar to the survey. I would say they are the same. It focuses on a large group of people, a large numbers of people. We can use the survey to elicit the requirement or validate the requirement as well. Elicit the requirement, what do you need? What do they want? Or we can start from the interviews. This is what we need. This is what we want. We get 10 requirements, run the questionnaire again with a larger numbers of people, let's say million or 1,000 people, to say, which feature do you want the most? Okay, there's a validation part. We can also do it as well. Existing documentation, okay? Let's say, I don't want to say we're gonna do copy and paste, but let's say we're gonna be a competitor of the domain and the real estate application, right? We just follow them, okay? What are the fundamental features? They can do the property searching based on the street, based on the address, home address. They can show the property price, blah, 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 that kind of thing. We can follow them, okay? And then we can redo the interview and the questionnaires later as well. Based on these features of the real estate or the domain application, what feature you don't like, okay? You can ask that kind of question as well. And how can we add it? What are the missing features? That kind of thing. Workshop, you can also do it as well. Run a workshop, ask people to come, explain this is what we are doing, and try to do some activities together with the participant, right? To elicit the requirement. Domain expert talk to them directly. Direct observation. Let's say, let's look at how can I say direct observation. Basically, is like you try to observe how people use the mobile application, the real estate application, right? Maybe when you observe it, directly observe it, you may notice that, oh, why the user is so upset because this feature is misaligned, it's not right, the button is too small, the search bar should be in this position, but not in the other way, that kind of thing, you know, some direct observation, you can identify the problems to improve, and now you can be the next millionaire as well, to be the competitor of the real estate application, right? Prototyping, we can draft some prototyping and run the interview, run the questionnaire, run the workshop as well. Present it, this is our prototype, what do they think, what do they like, try to use it. An example. I describe everything. When we do the interview, right? So normally we interview all of the stakeholders, okay? As I mentioned before, it's not just only the end users or the customer, but we should understand what is the value of the company, what do they want, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the key point for this slide is that we should interview all stakeholders, from the business level to the technical level. And don't forget, when we deploy the application, right, we need to ask the IT operation team as well, or the IT department, what is the current infrastructure that is available? Should we deploy it in the cloud or in the on-premise system? How can we communicate, or the data between our system and your system via the API or not? How can we test it? And which version of the API, what is the data format that we are going to send to you and we get from them, that kind of thing, you know? There are lots of details that we need to document, write it down before we implement anything. Otherwise, it will be kind of like ad hoc. Let's say we're gonna implement some feature and then, oh dear, how should we, what kind of data format that we should send to them, right, to get the request? And then you cannot call them, you know, let's say you're gonna do like a credit card payment API. What is the API for the PayPal? You don't know and you cannot implement it, right? That becomes a delay in the software projects. So you should know everything in advance. That's the fundamental requirement, and then you can develop with and send the data in the right format. Okay, interview. Yeah. As I mentioned before, closed and open, I talk about the structure and the unstructured, right? But there's a closed end and the open end as well. Closed end, when we do interview, for example, we already have the specific answer. Do you like the mobile real estate application or not? Yes. Do you need the login feature or not? Yes. Do you need like a review for for each property or not? No. I don't want to submit any reviews, that kind of thing. That's a yes, no, or closed-end question, right? But when we ask like open-end questions, for example, what do you like about the real estate application? Do you no which feature that is missing from the current version? How can we improve it? Do you think that blah 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 blah? You know, that's more like open end. Ask for the opinion. Let them speak out about their thought, their opinions. This is how we do the interview. Okay. Yep. When we do the interviews, it's not the best thing in the world. There are advantages and there are disadvantages as well. Okay, first, the good thing about when doing the interview is that we can get the business requirement, like the first-hand impression. We know what do they want, and then we can create the connection, okay, between the development team and the clients or the end users, right? Because when we do the interview, we get the high response rate because we already persuade them to do the interview with us, right? And if you have any ambiguities in their response or their answer, you can just like follow up and clarify immediately without waiting for when compared to the other approaches, right? And everything can be recorded. Let's say you do audio recorded or video recorded. That's an interview, but it takes some time. Let's say when you do the interview, sometimes it takes like 30 minutes, right? And it depends how many people you have and how long you can spend as well. So each person, you need some time to talk to them, okay? It is time consuming, and because it is time consuming, maybe you cannot elicit the requirement from a large numbers of people. You may interview by like, let's say 10 people for one person, right? As a requirement engineer, maybe I can cope with only 10 participants. That should take like 300 minutes already. That's like 6 hours, right? 5 hours, 6 hours. So yeah, that's why it takes some time. And the requirement that we get, it is only representative to just only the people that we interview it, but it may not generalize to everyone that want to use the system, right? Okay, so that's the disadvantage, the limitations of the interviews. Because of this, when we run the questionnaire, we already have a set of questions already, and we can do like a broad questionnaire, you know, one set of questionnaire you send to million people over the Twitter, Facebook, or email, whatever, you know, marketing email. When you do this, you can collect like more response than doing the interview, okay? But the chance of getting the response here is quite low, okay? Low, it means that when we send to 1,000, we may get 20 response. When we send to 100,000 people, we may get 2,000 response. So the response rate will be lower because they may consider, that, oh, is that a spam? Oh, I don't want to participate, right? That's one of the limitations of the surveys and the questionnaires. And sometimes the questionnaires are unclear as well. The questions, if the questions are unclear, we do not have an opportunity to clarify them, whether what does it mean, okay? And what is that? Sometimes we may get the low quality answers as well, right? Think about the spam. When we write the questionnaires, there's an open answer, and they may just say yes, no, without the reasons. But in fact, the question we ask, what kind of features do they want? No, I don't need anything. That could be one of the answer, but so it's one of the disadvantage as well, because we cannot monitor or control the quality of the response from the questionnaires. Okay. All right. Yeah. Existing document and the system. Okay. Yeah, this is, as I mentioned before, we can look at the existing document as well, the design architecture of the existing mobile application. Let's say we are from the ANSAT, we just try to clone the app from the NAB or the Commonwealth Common Bank, and we just look for it, right? How do they develop the system, mock it up, and then yeah, we try to follow. Okay, one question: what is the difference between a business analyst and a software engineer in terms of gathering the requirements, and is there a difference in what kind of requirements they usually gather? Okay. I think I would say that we need to distinguish between the roles and the responsibility, right? In some companies, they don't have they don't have the requirement engineer roles. They don't have the business analyst roles, but they have only the name title, software engineer, but they may include the requirement gathering as part of the software engineers as well. It depends, okay? But some companies, they have the business analyst role, they have the requirement engineer roles, like especially in the European countries, they often have it. And they also have a separate software engineer roles. It really depends on the nature of the companies. And when in that context, right, business analysts, they just focus on analyze the business requirement, gathering the requirement, communicate with the software engineers, and the software engineers just develop the system based on the requirement that the business analyst gather. Okay, clear? Is there a difference in what kind of requirements they usually gather? No, I think it depends. It depends on the roles and the responsibility. If someone need to gather the requirement, they should gather everything, right? That's their responsibility. And if the responsibility for the software engineer is to develop the system, they just develop the system. They don't need to gather anything. So as I mentioned before, it really depends on the context or the countries or the companies. Requirement engineers are more common in the European countries, especially Germany, Netherlands, that kind of thing, but not common in the US. In the US, Australia, probably they call product owner, head of product analysts. They know what the product it should be. They have the roadmap, and they provide the requirement to the software engineers, and they just develop the system. Okay, is that clear? Thank you. Okay. Oh, I need a sip of water. Okay, workshop. Workshop. Yeah, so basically, if workshop sometimes happens when you outsource, when let's say non-IT companies want to outsource the software development project to a software company, right? And the software company can just come to the non-IT company to run a workshop. Okay, hey you, what do you want? What do you need? That kind of thing is kind of like a meeting. Okay, that's the workshop, and it can be run via Zoom or in person, conference room, whiteboard. We need a good workshop facilitator in order to effectively and efficiently elicit the requirement. Without a good facilitator, again, facilitator is like a requirement engineers. If you don't have a good people here, you won't get the right requirements. Yeah. Okay, workshop. Yeah, again, yeah, labor intensive, but it yield great results. Okay, yeah, we need to, when we run the workshop, it's kind of like not one-to-one interview. It's like one-to-many interview. That's how we run the workshop. We run the activities. For example, right? If we think about requirement engineer, if we think about the requirement, the software should serve the diverse set of people, and normally we call it personas. Okay, persona is one characteristics of a person, and then workshop we can have we can let the people come from different domains, different stakeholders. We have elderly, we have female, male, or whatever diverse sets of people. We have different personas, run the workshop, elicit the requirement from different perspectives, and then we gather it, okay? And then we do analysis later, blah, blah, blah. Okay, direct observation, as I mentioned before, again, yeah, don't just rely on the interviews and the workshops. Sometimes when we talk to people, they just say something, but in real world scenarios, they may do the other thing, right? So the best way to understand what the requirement is or the nature of the software is to directly observe how do the end users use the software. That's the best way, okay? Otherwise, we will not get the right requirement, and whether that requirement whether that requirement should be implemented or not. Okay, yeah. So the good thing about the direct observation is that we need to talk to the frontline staff. What did they do? And understand the variations, right? Between this is what we observe, but it may be slightly different from what we interview or do the questionnaire. We need to understand the misalignment as well. Why is that, right? And yeah, that's the thing. That's the direct observation. All right. Okay, prototyping, very important. Okay, so prototyping, or some people call rapid prototyping, it's one of the approach to provide like so requirement. Normally we focus what the system should do, right? The functionality of the system. But when we do the prototyping, we already mock up the end products, the deliverables of the product. Okay, it's more like a UI. Okay, UI, rapid prototyping. That means instead of communicate a heavy document to the end users, okay, the system should have that kind of feature A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, right? But if we show the mock-up to the clients, they may have a more understanding, and they understand like what the final products will be. This is the final UI of the mobile banking application, which include both functional of the system and the non-functionality of the system, right? The login feature button is like this, the flow of the UI is like this, the color scheme is like this. So it captures everything. So that's why rapid prototyping is one of the common approach that is used nowadays to communicate with the client. Okay, and normally so rapid prototyping, normally we start from the beginning, and it is often used in the agile software development projects. Okay, and we as I mentioned before, we mostly focus on the UI, okay, of the application, and it is a good thing to manage the client expectation as well, because when we say the app should be user friendly, but we don't know what does it mean by user friendly, right? But when we design the UI, it captures the color scheme, whether it is yellow like common bank, or the other color ANZ like a blue scheme, that kind of thing. How the button, what is the size of the button, large, medium, small, that kind of thing. So it captures everything. That's why clients are more interested to see the rapid prototype rather than the heavy documentation nowadays. But it doesn't mean, just want to emphasize, it doesn't mean that the documentation is not needed. We still need it, okay? But maybe we need both, okay? Both of them. It's the best of the both worlds, okay? Okay. For this method, do we need to produce high fidelity prototypes and review? Yeah. Any extra thing about the UX, please go to the Fit 5152 usability design. Okay. Yeah. Prototype. Okay. And just want to mention, prototype, when we say prototype, is not the real system. It's just a mock-up, right? Mock-up. And Normally, clients will wonder why it takes another 6 months after they saw something that looks like it works before anything real gets delivered. So normally, what tool do we use now to do the rapid prototype? Canva, is that the Canva? Can someone type in the Zoom chat what is the most popular one at the moment? Yeah, to do the rapid prototyping. I forget the name. Yeah, Figma. Yes, that's right. Figma. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Figma. Sometimes people use Figma, right? And if you understand the history of the rapid prototyping, it's called A Wizard of Oz. There's a movie. You can Google in the Google later as well. There's a they describe something in the Wikipedia. So let's say if I create a prototype, a phone call, right? Like a automated call center. We just pretend that we have like a automatic call center, but actually it's not. It's the real person, but the purpose is just to get the feedback. What do they perceive? Yeah, if there's a automatic call center that can think. And same to this one. Instead of we deliver the real mobile application, we just do the mock-up using the Figma. It can interact with the end users like seamlessly, so very real, right? And sometimes clients thought that, oh, this is a real application, but actually it's not. And then, yeah, they may get confused as well. Oh, looks like we already tried the real application. Why we don't get it, right? After the 6 months. That's the thing, okay. Do we need to follow some design guidelines like Google one in this unit? Material designs from Google is up to you. Okay. Okay, the next question, which of the following requirement gathering techniques will fit best for agile methodology? Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, thank you. How many response that we get now? Oh, we need more than 20 right now. It's just less, roughly 10. Yeah, let's wait for a few more minutes. Okay, 23 response now. Yeah, basically the answer is in the previous slide. If you understand what the agile means, then the answer will be right. Okay, I will move on. Okay, in summary, we talk about the requirement specification. We need to write in the document, and this part, it is a process of writing down the document, the user and the system requirement into a requirement specification document, SRS. User requirements, it must be understandable by the end users and the customer who do not have any technical backgrounds, okay? But for the system requirement, it's more about the requirement, the technical requirement for the system. What is the which operating system that the app or the software must be runnable with, or that kind of thing. Okay, which version of the OS. Yeah. Okay. And most of the time, right, let's think about some scenarios when we outsource the software development projects to the IT company, to the software companies. Normally, we use the requirement specification document as a contract to develop a software system. Okay, yeah, so that's why writing the document here, software requirement specification, it is still important, even if you work in an sometimes, how can I say, regardless of the software development process that you use, sometimes in the contract you need to write down what is the requirement of the system as well. Okay, yeah, it depends. Yeah. And just want to emphasize again, okay, sometimes we get confused when we talk about Agile, okay, Agile software development methodology. The value is that focus on the working software rather than the documentation. Most of the people get confused that we should not write any documentation. No, it's not, okay. We should write some documentation. And people call just enough documentation, just enough. We need to write something. Without the documentation, tell me what feature should I develop? There's nothing, right? But we need to write something, but it's not as comprehensive as the software requirements specification document, like in the waterfall. That's it. Okay, requirement gathering. We talk about the requirement gathering already, different approaches, and now we're gonna talk about the use case diagram. Okay. Okay, let's take a moment. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. When we have the requirement specification, we only talk about what the system should perform, right? What is the functionality of the system, but it does not describe which stakeholder that can interact with that feature, that kind of thing. So that's why we need the use case diagram. For example, like in this figure, right? We talk about the, let's say, admission system, okay, or student, registration system or whatever. Student can what student can do? They can register. They can do the student registration. They can manage the sorry. They can do the login. They can register themselves. They can do the exam, the test, right? But they cannot create the exam. They cannot create the question bank. They cannot see the exam report, that kind of thing. Only the admin that can access all of these features. Okay, so that's why we need the use case diagram. And most of these requirement, it may not be like clearly described in the requirement specification. That's why we need the use case diagram, and it is very understandable by everyone. Okay, so use case diagram, it is a model, it is the graphical visual diagram, okay, between the software products and the not just only the users, but I would say that I will call actors, okay, or the stakeholders, okay. And the actors can be anyone, can be the end user, can be the admin. If we talk about the real estate management system, it can be the tenant, the customer to do the buy and sell, the property owner, the real estate agent, and the admin who manage the whole system, right? So there are different actors, and different actors may have different access to different feature, different requirement here. That's why we need the use case diagram. We use it to visualize the relationship between the actors and the use case. This is the use case. Use case is the login feature, that kind of thing, right? That's the relationship, what they can do, what they can access. Yep. So when we draw the use case diagram, there are a few components here that is very important. Let me try to get the the annotate here. The first one, of course, the actor. Okay, the actor, it is needed, and then we need the use case name. Okay, and then we need the association. Okay, yeah, that's the three key component as part of the use case diagram. Okay. And next. Yep. Let's say we want to develop the use case diagram for the real estate agent, right? Normally what we start, okay, the most important part anyway, we need to draw, okay, what is the system that we are going to draw. It will be in the square diagram like this, okay, square box. And then when we develop the real estate system, of course, the first and the most important actor is the property agent. Okay, that's the actor that can access or has a direct relationship with this feature. They can add the property, and in real world, the scenarios, the use case diagram can be even more complex and larger than this one. I'll try to see if we have more example in the next slide or not. 1 second. Yep. Yeah. Okay. And when we talk about the syntax, right? Okay. As I mentioned before, we use this little cute guy, okay, as an actor, and then we have the interaction line, we have the square boundary here, square diagram here, to describe the system. What is the system that we are going to describe the use case, okay, and each of the use case will be described as a oval shape here, okay. That's the syntax. We need to because we have the right because we have a standard syntax here, that's why it can be generally understood by everyone if they understand the syntax, right? It is a standard, everyone understand it. Yeah, it is a standard to communicate. Yeah. Okay. Okay, actor, use case actor diagram, right? When we talk about the actor, what does it mean? It is a member of the world outside of the software products. Outside of the software products, actor cannot be login module. It cannot be whatever inside the system. It cannot. It must be outside. That's it, right? Who interact with the software system? That's the actor. Okay, and it is usually easy to identify the actor. Okay, it can be the frequent user, and some software can have more than one actor as well. As I mentioned before, the real estate system, some potential actors could be what is that? The customer, the end user, the tenant, the property agent, the admin, the real estate agent, that kind of thing, right? There are different people, different stakeholders interact with the real estate property management system. And there are two types of the actor here, okay? An initiator and the participant, okay? An initiator is generally an actor who initiate or start the use case, and it is placed on the left side of the use case diagram. This is very important, okay? Highlight here. Initiate, okay, that's an initiator who start the use case diagram, and it is on the left side of the use case diagram. That's very important. Star, okay. But when we talk about the participant, it can be an actor. It's not the person who initiate the use case, but there will be just someone else who participate in this use case, and it will be placed on the right side of the use case diagram, okay. Star, okay. And one actor can participate in multiple use cases as well, okay? And the last but not least is that someone who plays a critical part in the use case, okay? That's the actor, it must be a critical part. It's not like someone walking around and can be an actor, not like that. That means when we talk about the real property management system, viewers, okay, like the person like, no, how can I say? Yeah, okay, whatever, forget about it. Yeah, okay, clear this one. Yeah, but sometimes the last point is that someone can the actor can play more than one role as well, right? It can be staff, no, sorry, a staff. When we talk about staff, it can be both lecturer or the TA as well. So it really depends, but it's best to describe the clear specific actor role, okay? But it can be the same person. Okay, all right, let's take a look at this one, an example of the initiator and the participant, okay? Initiator and the participant actor, two types here. This is a real estate system, okay? Can we look at the property without creating it or not? No, right? Someone need to create it. And who is the person who create the property? They should be the property agent. Let's say if we want to list some property here, the property agent, yeah, add the property to the system. That's the initiator, the first actor. Without the property agent to add the property, no one can look at it, right? And once they are created, they are added, then we as a customer can look at the property list, okay? Look at the listing. Which one is available, which one is ready for sale, which one is ready for lease or whatever, okay? Yeah, that's an example of the mouse, yeah, initiator and the participant. But the most important part that I want to highlight, really critical, is that actor is not need to be a human. It can be a system as well. Okay, like in this case, this real estate system cannot be blah, 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 whatever. But what I want to say here is that, let's say if the real estate system has a feature to collect the rent, okay, collect the rent every week, and the feature they provide collect via direct debit or the credit card or PayPal, okay? Same to the e-commerce system as well. And to do that, the real estate system may need the third party credit card company, okay? Let's say MasterCard or Visa or PayPal to be another actor as well, okay? To interact with the system. Let's say if the user, the customer initiate the payment, they need to interact with the credit card company or the payment company, PayPal, that kind of thing, to confirm whether the transaction or the information, credit card information is valid or not, it is successful or not, and then return the message back to the system, that kind of thing. So that means in these scenarios, right, the credit card company can be the participant, another participant or actor, right? The one type of the actor of the real estate system as well. Okay, cool. Any questions? Questions? Okay, no question. Okay, I will move on. Overlapping actor generalization. Yeah, okay. So sometimes, right, when we look at this one, okay, look at this figure. Look at this figure here, okay. This is, let me try to understand this one together. It is a sales system, okay, sales system. Let's say online shopping. Online shopping, of course, we need to, these are the use case, list of products. The customer should be able to order the products, right? Accept the payment, submit the payment, calculate the commission as well. No, not the online shopping. This is the real estate sale, okay? Buy and sell real estate agent system, okay? That kind of thing, right? No, not real estate. Sell something, sell some products. Okay. And we have the actor here, customer and the sales agent. Okay. But sometimes these are the roles, right? And it can be overlapping as well. Because as a customer, they can list the product, they can order the products, they can accept the payment, they can do everything as well, right? That's why we can simplify the actor here as a purchaser, okay? Purchaser is a bigger role, okay? The generalization of the two roles here, purchaser, okay? And using this symbol, okay? Purchaser can list the product, order the product, accept the payment, calculate the commission, okay? And as a purchaser, they can have like two roles, two sub roles here, customer and the sales agent, okay? Let's take a look at the Zoom chat a little bit. How do you draw the system to system as actor or participant as the previous example? Does it need to draw the human figure to the system boundary or system to system? Yeah, okay. So I think what he means is that for the credit card, okay, let me try my best, okay. We have the real estate system here, real estate system. And we have the feature pay, okay, and this little cute guy, okay, interact with this use case, and because the pay, yeah, need to interact with the credit card actor, right? So I think, yeah, maybe the question to Yiwei as well, whether, just to clarify, right, whether the credit card company here, CC company here, should we draw it as another system or the human? Okay. Yeah. So I think from my point of view, because we consider it as an actor, right? Should we draw it as an actor? Yeah. Credit card company. Okay, however, the actor or the participant also a system, the point is not clear if that clarified. Yeah. I mean that if there 50 use case, is it like we need to draw 50 use case separate diagrams or it can be for a system? Yep. Okay, yeah. So I think my understanding is correct. So when this is an actor, the customer submit the payment, that's the use case. And to confirm whether the payment or the transaction is successful or not, we need to communicate to the credit card company here. And we consider the credit card company as a participant actor here. Okay, if that makes sense to everyone. Yeah. If yes, then say yes. If no, then say no. Yes, okay. And another question here, if there are 50 use cases, is it like we need to draw 50 use case separate diagrams, or it can be part of one diagram, including many use cases between the actor and one participant? Ideally, we should include everything, right? Include everything into one system. Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, yes. All clear. I will move on to the next slide now. Okay, overlapping actor. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, I will move on. Yeah. For the use case diagram, right, there are other syntax as well. For example, the inclusion and the exclusion. What does it mean? Inclusion, normally we use, draw again. I wish I could have a pen here. This syntax, this annotation to annotate that whether this use case is included or not, or the extent. Include mean it is compulsory part of the use case, okay? And including use case never stand alone. It always include the include use case. So we need this one. Yeah, when we say include, we need to include this use case. It interact with each other, okay? And sometimes we use the term main use case as well, right? No, sorry, what is this here? Including use case, the main use case such as transfer fund, and the sub use case could be the confirmed transfer. Yeah, as I mentioned before, let's say if we are going to do the transfer, money transfer, right? The main use case is the money transfer, but whether the transfer is successful or not, that's another use case as well, because you need to interact with the other company, the credit card company, right? So that's why we separate into two sub use case here. But when we talk about the extent, it is used as an optional behavior. It can be it can exist or it cannot be exist as well. It can behave or it cannot be behave as well. It really depends, okay? The extend use case may be standalone, but under certain conditions, it may be extended by another use case. So we're gonna use the annotation, this one, this syntax here, extend, okay? Let's take a look at an example, okay? The main use case, let's say we're gonna do following this one. Money transfer, okay? When we do the money transfer, it is a main use case, but whether we want to print the receipt or not, right? That's that is optional, okay? Think about the cost checkout system, okay? When you do the checkout already, and then do you wish to print your receipt? That's the optional use case, okay? It's not mandatory at all. But when we scan the product, what is a mandatory use case here? Pay. No one can get the products without doing the payment, okay? So everyone must pay. That's the when you order the product, include the payment, okay? That's the real world scenarios. Let's say cost. Clear, everyone? If it is clear, then yes. Thank you. Okay, inclusion and exclusion here, right? So let me try to understand. When a student is enrolled, this is a requirement, okay? This is a requirement. This is a requirement. When a student is enrolled, okay, a confirmation is required to be sent to the student. Require, okay? Send to the student confirmation, okay? That's a enroll, yeah, okay. That's a use case, okay? Number one, enroll. Confirmation, another one. Is required. Include, okay. When a student is enrolled, a student can choose to enroll the units, right? Can choose, is not required. They can enroll or not enroll or whatever, okay? So let's draw this one together. Yes, the first and the foremost, we need the system, okay? What the system that we are drawing, the use case here. This is a use case diagram. Student enrollment system, we have that in the square box here, okay? The first and the most important actor in this case, we have only the student. Draw this little cute guy with the relationship, direct no arrow relationship here. The first use case, they have to enroll, okay? A confirmation is required. So we use the include annotation with the arrow here, okay? In the dash line to send the confirmation use case. It is related to the send confirmation use case. But when but student can choose to enroll the unit, right? That's the optional. That's why the unit enrollment is the optional use case to the enrollment course here. Okay, make sense? You enroll the course degree, was that Master of IT, but the unit can be anything. You can enroll the course but may not enroll the units as well. Yeah, and yeah, as and the most important part, okay, that most of the students get confused is the arrow. Very tricky. When we use the include, it is direct towards this one, this way, but when we use the extend, it is the other way around. Okay, enroll unit, this is the use case that extend this main enroll course. Okay, the enroll unit use case is an extension of the the course enrollment use case, but but when we do the enrollment course use case, it must include the send confirmation use case. Okay, clear? That is very tricky. Yeah, clear, say yes. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Where are we? Okay, the quiz. Okay, go back to the quiz now. In the use case diagram, what does extend implies? Okay, what does it mean? Extend in the use case diagram. Okay, let me take a look at for the next question. Okay, very good. Most of the students got the correct answer. Okay. Extend, okay, extend, what is that? Okay, I will move on now. Final note, okay, not yet, okay. I am aware of time, maybe I need to speed up now. Okay, so final note, final takeaway message here, right? Use case diagram is not a flow chart. It's not a description of the use case. No, sorry, it's not a flow chart. Okay, but use case diagram just describe the use case of the system. Okay, and it should be simple. You need to iterate and incrementally improve it to get it right. It could be wrong as well, and I just want to emphasize that the use case diagram, class diagram, state diagram, there's a syntax there. There's a standard, right? That everyone use is called UML, Unified Modeling Language. Okay. So try to understand or use this book to understand what is the UML syntax. Then you can get it right in the assignment and the exam as well. Okay, very, very important. Okay, let me see how many slides are left. Okay, I'm aware of time, maybe I'll continue. No break. Okay, yep, user stories and acceptance criteria. Okay, what is that? Waterfall style, waterfall model. We normally write a requirement specification document. It is very comprehensive. It is very detailed. But in the Agile, how can, okay, yeah. But in agile software development projects, right, we normally use user stories to describe the requirement, and it has its own format, and we will talk about it. What does it mean? Okay, so user stories, it is an informal general explanation of a software feature. In waterfall, we have the requirements. Sometimes we need to, if we like in a hybrid mode, we may need to translate the requirement to user story as well, or we can write the user story from the beginning of the software development process as well. It is a feature, easy like that. It must be short, succinct, small, understandable, clear, concrete, testable, implementable, everything. Okay, the purpose of the user story is to articulate how a piece of work will deliver a particular value back to the customer. When we write the requirement, we can we may miss what is the value. For example, the system should be able to, the user should be able to log into the system. Oh, why do we need that? Okay, can someone tell me? There's no value to do that, right? But when we write in the user story format, there's a format. Maybe probably I will talk in the next few slides. Okay, as a user, I would like to log into the system. So something, that's the purpose. Okay, and yeah, so maybe let's say this is an example. I think when this is a real estate system, right? And this is a high level feature, which is about the managed vacancy. One of the feature is the post vacancy. Okay, and then we're gonna write the user story here. Okay, some example could be, for example, as an employer, I want to submit a job. As an employer, I want to register as and blah blah blah. Okay, maybe this figure is not clear. Maybe I'll move on. Okay. Okay, let me clear this one. Okay, make it clear. User stories are the succinct descriptions of actions that a user would want to do with a system. Okay, they are written in the following structure. The rocket as a, okay, as a who, I want to, what is the goal, what do you want to do with the system, so that what are the values and the benefits, right? This is very important. Okay, as a user, I want to see the list of the properties so that I can find the most property that I want to apply, that I want to leave, something like that. Okay, as a customer, as a user, I want to find the property, weekly rental property that costs less than $300 per week, so that I can afford that kind of properties without exhaustively checking it, right? Like which one is less than $300 per week. Yeah, that's an example. Okay, yep, that's the user story format. Okay, let's take a look at these three. As a wiki user, I want to upload a file to the Wikipedia so that I can share it with my colleagues. As a user, as a survey participant, I want an indication of the progress so that I know how much I have left to complete. This is a very good example. As a customer, I would like to the system to not corrupt the database, right? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So okay, question. As a mail user, I don't want to see multiple scroll bars in text area when composing mail. Is this a well-written user story? We got one question in the Zoom chat. Should the user story be written in one sentence or not, probably I assume per feature. Okay, I would say that it depends on the level of the feature. The feature can be at a high level, and it can be multiple user stories can be associated with one requirement as well. So it really depends on the feature. Yeah, so that means, yeah, one feature can be associated with multiple user story, and one user story may have more detailed implementation requirement as well. It depends the description of the implementation part, yeah, that is required. Yeah, okay, all good. Yep, when we write a user story, how can I say, it only describes what the system should do, right? What the user want. Okay, as a user, I want to do this. As a user, I want to do that. And how can we ensure that such of the user stories are implemented and the requirements are met, right? Do we develop the right system or not? So the acceptance criteria is part of the agile software development, where we normally write the user story first and then translate into the acceptance criteria. What are the steps that the system should perform to confirm that that user story is met? Okay, that requirement is met. Okay, yeah. So that means, in simple words, right? It is the criteria to test that the user story is implemented as expected. Let's take a look at an example here. For a smart home application, one of the user stories could be as a homeowner. Okay, I want to be able to dim or brighten individual light globes so that I can create my ideal lighting. I need some style. I need some good lifestyle. Today we're gonna go to like a dancing floor. Okay, so we need to do some dim and brighten, change the color, that kind of thing. That's a smart home. Okay, so what is the acceptance criteria? Let's try to generate together. Okay, first the user will select a globe and then see this view. Okay. This wheel should use a slider control so that the user has the full range of brightness levels available to them. Right? I would say that this is not really clear acceptance criteria. Okay, we need to make it more clear. Let me put it this way. Okay, we have the smart home tablet, and then the first step, right? What do we need to do? We need to select probably the room. Okay, the living room. Okay, click living room, and if it controls all of the right, then fine. But if we want to just only the downlight on the ceiling only, then we click the user will be able to select the light of that room. Okay, that's the next step. Select the right, then the user will be able to use the slider control to control the brightness level, change the color of the light, change the the flashing period or whatever, right? And the time of a light globe to respond to a change made by the user should be no greater than 1 second. So that means once the user click select the right setting, the light should respond to the change by the user within 1 second, something like that. Okay, that's the acceptance criteria. Okay. Okay, all good. Yeah, a few more examples of the acceptance criteria, right? Let's think about the user story. This one, as a customer, I want to check the balance of my account so that I can perform transactions. What are the acceptance criteria? First, as a customer, I should be able to log into the system. Then the system should present the details of my bank account from different accounts here. As a user, should be able to see the balance amount including the transactions history of the banking application, something like that. That if I can see everything, perform everything of this, then that user story is implemented and behave as expected, right? What is the difference between user story and the acceptance criteria? I'm mixing them. Okay. User story only describe the intention. Acceptance criteria describe what are the steps to test to confirm that the feature that feature is implemented. It is behave as expected and follow the user story. Make sense? User story, just the intention. What is the goal? What is the value? What is the benefit? Acceptance criteria. What are the steps to test? Okay. Yeah. Please give an example. Yes. This slide is an example. Maybe I'll talk about more example here. Example 3, right? As a customer, I want to transfer the money from my bank account to another bank account so that I don't have to go to the bank for making such transactions. Okay, I want to do the online transfer, money transfer. What to do? How can we ensure or confirm that this user story is met? Okay, the first step, what do we need to do is to log in. Okay, without do the successful login, we don't know who are you, right? We need to get the right customer ID. So first, the customer should log in into the system. Once the system, once the customer is logged in successfully, the system should check whether the amount is enough or not in their balance account before they transfer to the another bank account, right? And they need to validate the input as well, whether the account number is valid or not, BSB number, account number, both sides, you know, our side and their side as well. If the account balance is enough, we have money. If we have enough money in our account, if the money transfer transaction is success, then the balance, our balance is now updated and displayed to the end user. Okay, these are the system 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then both accounts are updated accordingly, right? We transfer the money, so the money is less, but the other bank account, the money is now increased. Okay, make sense here or not? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that this clarify your confusion. Okay, so to sum up, when using agile methodologies, teams write user story and their acceptance criteria. Very important in the agile. Everyone use nowadays. Without user story, we don't know what to develop. Without acceptance criteria, we don't know whether the user story is met or not. Right? Okay, but if you look, if you Google, or maybe we teach you in the later week in the software quality and testing or not, right? Think about the V and V model, validation and verification. So user story, the requirement, that's the highest level. Okay, we want this feature, but it doesn't say like what are the functions or methods in the code that we need to implement. Okay, it is like higher than the system level. That's the behavior of the whole software. And the acceptance criteria, yeah, it is the step that the tester should perform, or the clients need to perform in order to confirm that this user story is met. Okay. And when we use the unified process, right, teams draw use case diagram and write use case description for each use case. To write a user story, we need to follow the structure as something I want, something, so that what are the values and the benefit. And the most important part is that we need to follow each of the user story should follow the INVEST principles. Okay, it stands for independent, negotiable, valuable, estimatable, small, and it should testable as well. Okay, small means as a CEO, I want to increase the profit in my company. That's not the right user story. Okay, independable means that they should not be dependent with each other. Okay, as a user, I want to log in. And what is another dependent? I cannot come up with at the moment. Okay, whatever. And it should be testable as well. For example, as a user, I want the system to be beautiful. How to quantify the beautifulness, right, of this system? So it cannot be quantified. But if we say that as a user, we want the system UI to follow this color scheme, blue, red, green, blue, something with the hex code. Okay, that makes sense now. It is testable. We test it. We can test it whether the UI follow that color scheme or not, right? Valuable. What is not valuable? I don't know. Okay, so once we get the user story, we need to write the acceptance criteria to confirm whether that user story is met or not. Okay, yeah, and this is just a more explanation of the user of the invest principles, right? Independent, it should be self-contained. Negotiable, it should be able to revise and replace with something else as well. It should be valuable. It should be beneficial to the end users, and it should be estimable. Yeah. The user story should correspond to the functionality of the what we are going to implement as well. It should be estimable, and it should be small. Must be small enough to be considered and scheduled independently, and we should be able to test it as well. Okay, all right. So the last question, as a user, I want to be able to make emails of different colors depending on the content of the email so that I can see which emails are about complaints and things that I can reply later and are not so important. So it is a good user story. Okay, answer in the Flux. Okay, and yeah, think about invest principles. Think about invest principles. Think about invest principles. Right. And usability design principles, right? So I'm aware of time. Maybe you can watch or review the slide later as well. Okay. This is more like a usability principles. Mainly is about we should follow there are two main principles, okay, by Donald Norman or the Ben Schneider 8 golden rules here. Okay, but because this is a software engineering unit, it's not the usability design unit, so we will not focus on this, but we will talk about the other things later. Okay, in the unit. Okay, all right. This is that's all for today's lecture. Is 2 hours. Thank you so much everyone for your attention, right? And I hope that everyone will enjoy, understand what we are talking today. And someone asked, will the usability principle appear in the exam? No. Yes or no? I cannot confirm. We will see, but likely no. Okay, the chance is less. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, send an email to the FitPro account. We will be able to clarify as well. Please try to participate in the workshop as well, the on-campus workshop, the real-time online as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. See you. Bye-bye.